How's it going, folks? Cam here from Binui Family Grazing. It's the 12th of January. It's a beautiful summer's morning. It's around 16 degrees at the moment, and that's almost as good as you'll get for a summer. We've had some pretty muggy, humid, still conditions in the build-up to some of the storms we've been having, and obviously we love the rain, but the prior weather is pretty uncomfortable. But no, it's not too bad. It's a lovely cool morning, and I'm down with the steers, and we're on one of our best pastures at the moment, our leafiest pastures, the highest quality, and yeah, they're doing really well. I'll show one of these steers here. I came down yesterday, Arvo, and some of them were ruminating in the afternoon, just lying down, ruminating, chewing their cud. And I don't often see that, because usually the afternoons are the best time for them to graze. That's when they're all up and going, because the sun's going down and it's cool and favourable conditions. But yeah, we're on Matt and Kim's block still, and it's great. Yeah, it's a good feeling coming back. You've planned a rotation, we've come full circle now, and everything's gone, to plan. It's gone, you've worked it out on your grazing chart. You're going to be back here and you want this forage, this maturity, and it's worked out, and we've got animals doing well. They're content. We haven't had too much fly pressure because it's been cooler weather, but you can see the cattle are pretty calm and content at the moment. But today, just this morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I managed to get my grazing enterprise and operation started fairly economically, and how I utilize other people's cattle to help me manage leased land. Basically, so the term in the industry is called custom grazing on leased land. So custom grazing, you take other people's cattle, you graze them with a purpose, with an end goal in mind. And then the leasing, just like you can rent a house, you can rent farmland, agricultural land, sometimes even residential land. There's some blocks over near kind of the little township there that I'm trying to get a little bit of a lease on, because they tack on well to some of these farms. And I can, if they're only 1 acre little house blocks, but they're all vacant blocks at the moment, just grass. So I could sneak a day of, a day's worth of feed in a few of those blocks, and if it works out to be 5-10 days worth of feed, then we know that's extremely valuable. But yeah, so I've touched on it in other videos, but I'll just talk a bit about how I originally got started. And I grew up in Cairns, far north Queensland, and we grew up in town, so I was never going to inherit a farm or a property or anything like that. But my passion was just the Australian landscape, the bush. That's where I was most happy, trudging around in mangroves looking for mud crabs and all that type of thing. It's just where I knew I had to be. And so I only really ever wanted to be two things. It was either a park, a ranger on a remote national park here in Australia, or a grazier or a farmer. Just loved the livestock. Was always passionate about the animals. And so I think I probably ended up going down the ag route, because the only work I could get on holidays and things like that during school was on farms around where we lived, certain farms in our area, and loved it. So ended up going down to an ag college in southern Queensland, and yeah, it was a great experience. We learnt a lot about conventional agriculture, production driven agriculture, with the implication that there's a requirement for machinery, heavy involvement by machinery and technology, even in a grazing scenario like this. Not too many machines here, but even in a grazing scenario. And I did agricultural business, so we did a lot of project appraisals and simulations on farm startups using real-time prices, land prices, cattle prices, and things like that. And I remember thinking, how on earth am I ever gonna make this happen? How am I ever gonna make this work? It's just, I can't see it. It's too expensive. The finances that I need, the loans I'll have to get out, the debt I'd have to go into. And so I thought I'd either need to fund it from a large outside income, get a really high paying job somewhere, and then pay for a farm that way, supplement the farm, or win the lottery. That's my backup plan, win the lottery, and that'll do it. And so I carried that mindset with me for probably the next 3 or 4 years as I went and worked for other people. And I definitely recommend going and working for other people. You got to gain that experience and see how other people are doing things. But if anything, looking back now, I'd recommend just look to find and seek out people that are doing exactly what you want to do. If it's in the regen space, find someone who's doing regen grazing or regen cropping or holistic veggie farming, like that. Just align your values as closely as you can with theirs, because there's people that have been doing it for 30 years, 40 years, and they have a lifetime of mistakes and successes behind them that you can learn off, and that'd be a real shortcut. And that's what that's something that I kind of wish I did a bit more of when I was looking for jobs straight out of uni. But I knew I wanted to do my own thing. I needed my own operation. So many ideas, just chewing at the bit to get out there and get started and get my own thing going. And it wasn't until I came across a bloke called Greg Judy, and he's a grazier over in the United States, and he just changed my whole perception of grazing, what it is to be a grazier, the attitude to develop, the approach to take in starting up your own farm. And as he was in a similar situation, not through a lack of land, but also in a fair bit of debt, and he had to change the way he did things all those years ago. And one of the key things he talks about is the need to manage and control the land, not necessarily own it. So if you can manage the calving cycle, you can plan the grazing rotations, you can manage all of the grazing decisions, then what difference does it make if you physically own the land or whether you have a long-term lease for 5-10 years? Obviously you do gain that appreciating asset of the land. However, a lot of us, we're passionate about being out here with the livestock, or at least the people I'm guessing watching this channel. We're passionate about stewarding the land and the herd, and just working together in symbiosis to kind of repair degraded land and soils. And so yeah, and that's what that just really got me thinking, because that's a way that you can economically get into it. So if you've saved up a nest egg, you've saved up some money, and I'm not saying land ownership isn't a bad thing, it's not a bad thing, but just getting started, it's good to weigh up and consider, depending on how much you've saved, are you better off going and buying a farm, but putting down the deposit, which takes up a majority of that money you've saved, that you then don't have any money to go out and buy livestock to generate the cash flow to make those repayments? Or another way of thinking, are you better off leasing land, which is, you don't need any real upfront investment, no deposit, and then from there getting your herd built, getting the right genetics, developing the right animal, the right frame size, for your goals. All of our goals should really be beef produced per acre. That's the unit that we should be measuring on. And so from there, you've got a herd, you're up and running, you're going, you've got a herd that's appreciating. They're giving you a calf each year, whether you've got cows, say you've got cows, your cow calf, you're getting a calf each year, and you're up and going, you're flowing, you've got that cash flow. And now once the standalone business of cattle can justify buying their own farm, so we got to just for a second there realize that this is if you're wanting to make a profitable living on the land, not be a hobby farmer. So the enterprise, the cows, they got to have their own bank account, and once that business can justify purchasing their own farm, which they can service the debt on, then you'd consider going and purchasing your own farm. So that's one way of thinking about it. Anyway, so not necessarily that's just a side topic, but back to that. So looking at leasing land as a way to get started. So that's what I did. I was all in. I thought it was kind of too good to be true. What Greg Judy was kind of talking about. But yeah, I instantly just started going out there and trying to find land to lease. So I got my first lease off my boss that I was working for at the time up in North Queensland. Had that for a little while, chucked some steers on there, and that was the same time I was starting to get into plant ecology, soil ecology, animal ecology, how it's all interrelated, and you can't change one thing without affecting the other. And so I was seeing the difference and the improvement and the different composition of pasture species that we were influencing on that I was influencing on that plot of land. That, you know, once you see it and you believe it deep down, then you know it works. It's just not too much like it. It gives you that confidence, and it's that real confidence to know that what you're doing can work, and you can go out and duplicate it and make it bigger. So we were there for a little while, and originally from North Queensland, but then we moved down to southern Queensland about a year and a half ago. So I liked that. I could see that framework still working. This is what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was steward animals out on the Australian landscape and regenerate our soils and you know, try and provide and harvest that forage with livestock and provide nutrient dense meat for our communities. So wanted to apply that same framework once we moved down, and through meeting some amazing people once we first came down, in particular a bloke called Clint Kenyon. He was extremely influential in helping me get my first couple lease blocks when I was down here. He knew people, and so yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I went out and just started driving the neighborhood. Not neighborhood, but driving the area, driving the land, driving the back roads, looking for blocks. And you develop a knack at identifying blocks that haven't had any animal integration, haven't been grazed, you know, don't have any water infrastructure, don't have any fences set up, and you know, they might be elderly owners, they might be owners that it's a holiday block and they live in the city, and that's your opportunity. So I'll talk about the cattle side in a sec, but firstly you've got to find the land base. So you find these lease blocks, and what you do is you identify undervalued lease blocks, right? So blocks that you are going to apply your youthful energy, your passion, your dedication and your work ethic to improve, to improve the value of the landscape for the owner. So you find the lease block and how you want to convey your value to the landowner is that you're going to utilize livestock. So we've got to realize that livestock can be they can destroy your country, or they can turn it into a flourishing, vibrant pasture, like something you've never seen. But that all depends upon how they're managed. So it's not the cow, it's the how. So it's how they're managed. And when used correctly, well, you can do this. You can turn farms into just lush open plains of diverse legumes and forbs and different species, which the soil underground at the moment, I put a shovel in the other day, it's just, compared to when we first came, it's just come alive. And so that's what you're going to do with your skills and your experience that you've developed and built over time. You're going to use livestock to improve the value of that landscape. So it might be an old mature lease block, might have old rank grass and trees going through, and you're going to come in and you're going to use cattle to try and heal that block. And that's where you put your value. You try not to put too much value in the cash repayments, right? So your value is more so in the increase to the value of the soil health and the productivity of the farm. So that's the land side of it. You find those types of blocks, and then you need animals to put on them. So when we first came here, in my case, cattle prices were at record high here in Australia. So it wasn't a great time to buy, but adjustment rates were high. So adjustment rates, what other people are willing to pay you to put cattle on your farm per head per week. That's generally the unit that people will pay on. That there might be other ways that people do it, but yeah, per head per week. And from there, you're able to gain instant access to cattle to help you improve these farms that you've just got a lease on. So you are going to use them. You're going to mimic nature. You're going to follow natural patterns. They're like your landscapers. They're your landscapers. You're obviously maintaining animal welfare and animal condition. That's a whole another topic, and that's the balance between landscaping and animal performance. But today we're just talking a little bit more about how you can gain access to land and how you can get started with grazing your animals. So you take these animals, they're your landscapers, and you start to develop these farms. You go in, and as I said when I was just talking before about Greg Judy, I thought it was too good to be true. Well, it was true in that you don't need much equity to get started, but what you do need is a passion, a work ethic, to never give up, and to be able to wake up and go before work, after work, on your weekends, fence these farms, put in water infrastructure, into this operation. So that's one thing I'll just quickly mention is that's the equity you need. It's sweat equity. You gotta be passionate about this, or it will never ever work. You'll get kicked off farms. So you've got to be passionate about the landscape and be true to the proposals and the promises that you've made. But so that's what I've done. So I got the lease land off different cattle landowners, sorry, and then I was instantly able to get access to cattle to help generate the cash flow to get the operations going. So yeah, obviously you want to make money, you're going to have your cost of production lower than the adjustment rates that you're getting, so you can make that gross margin. And you can do that. So that's because you're putting your value in your time and your skills. That's the beauty about regenerative grazing, holistic grazing management, intensive grazing. There's so many iterations of it now, but it's a low input system. You're putting all of your management, all of your time and effort into developing into your management and your skills and your education, your observation skills, and building knowledge, because that's portable. That's something you can take with you. You're not putting all your time and money into products, gimmicks, stuff like that. You're putting it into time and education and observation. Observation is one of the biggest things. I mean, just looking at the land and the livestock every day, morning and night, looking at them and balancing the two. So that's what I did, and that's where we are at the moment. So now we've got I got 72 head here, and I'm got a few of my own. Only got about 4 of my own at the moment, and you know, eventually I'll just keep building up that portion of my own, and that's how you get going. So I hope that helped. If anyone wants to do something similar, because there's land out there, we just need to couple that elderly wisdom with youthful energy, as Joel Salatin says, and start to bring our farms back to life. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you later.